Welcome to Health Hacktivators with lifestyle medicine doctor, GP and longevity expert Dr. Alka Patel. This show will help you to discover a hidden health hacking code that unlocks your phenomenal potential for an outstanding health span, lifespan and wealth span. The show features candid conversations with celebrities, influencers and industry icons, real life stories and cutting edge health activating advice that other doctors might not tell you. Discover why now is the time to join the strategic self-care revolution and experience the profound effects this will have on your personal and professional success. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alka Patel.
Hi, hey, and hello, Health Activators. What a year. This season, I have had the most amazing and insightful guests on this show. They've shared such valuable insights and information that I know will improve your health and better your lifespan. So this is the final episode. And for the final episode of Health Activators for this year, what I've done is put together the best bits from this season. Now, trust me when I say this was not easy to do. How do you choose the best bits when so much has been shared? Today's episode focuses on the principles of biohacking and how to use it to optimize your health. I'm also looking at supplements and their role in your health, as well as how to improve your sleep quality and its impact on your daily life. I've also put the notes for who each guest is and the topics discussed in the show notes, so do take a look, and I hope you enjoy today's refresher and highlight episode. Before we get into today's show, please do support today's show partner, Youth and Earth. Youth and Earth have a range of products that I love to use myself to supercharge my metabolism, to support my health, and to slow down cellular aging. Just be sure you click the link in the show notes for exclusive offers, which Youth and Earth are so generously giving for listeners of this show. I want to give you even more ways to apply biohacking into your life and explain its relevance in today's world and also the potential that it holds as well. So let's get going. To start things off then, what is biohacking? Well, here's my definition. Biohacking is the principles, practices, and processes of taking ownership of your health. That's it. The principles, practices, and processes of taking ownership of your health. It's about getting right into your control center. So that's the hacking bit. And then taking over control of your biology. So that's the bio bit. Your biology, your physiology, your psychology, neurology, your anatomy, your metabolism, your biochemistry. It's about taking control of how you're made and how you function. How do you do this? Well, I like to think of biohacking as having 4 components, so 4 applications. And these are testing, tracking, training, and treating. So now, what about you and your biohacking journey? Where are you at? Where are you at right now? Well, an important thing to do is really to start with a question to ask yourself, what's my goal here with biohacking? What do I want? Because that's an important question to answer in order to understand which of these principles and processes might be the most relevant for you to start with. It might be that you want life extension, longevity. You might want to live as long as possible. Or maybe you've got a diagnosis that you want to reverse, or perhaps you want to optimize your energy levels. The important thing is to know your goal, to be clear about your aim, and then look at those components of biohacking that I've highlighted, testing, tracking, training, treating, and look at which processes and practices are going to support you to reach that goal. And I'm going to say this again, my advice as always is to hack with a doctor by your side, because there are always safety elements to be aware of when biohacking. And there's this whole realm of science to understand and explore and enjoy together as well.
Some call it biohacking. Other people, it would be quite normal to do these things. Like if you're in Scandinavia, of course, like having hot and cold saunas, it's pretty everyday type stuff. Living in certain parts of the world, eating fish all the time is pretty normal, or vegetables all the time is pretty normal. So really, it's just taking all these things into consideration. And then I think about 6-7 years ago, I came across a product called NMN, which was, and I started taking that, and that had a profound effect on me, I think, in terms of my energy levels, and started looking more into the longevity pathways, which are all kind of intertwined with the blue zones, and the hallmarks of aging. And I was buying these, products overseas, and there was no one really kind of meeting that need in the UK market, the European market, and that's how I set up Youth and Earth by starting off, and obviously hired a lot of professionals and researchers, and scientists to help me come up with formulations. And that's kind of what kicked it off, really. Just I guess being a bit of a forerunner in the space and just taking a big interest in it from a long time, and then ultimately deciding to set up something, products that I really wanted that weren't available. And that's how it started.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think what you've kind of done in that little snippet of share is kind of given us a bit of a reality check. It's where this has been about initially your own discovery for yourself. And there's this thing, isn't there, which is once you know, you can't unknow. So once you know about the blue zones in the world, and for people listening, as you said quite rightly, these are the areas in the world, 5 big areas where people have been found to live longer into kind of centenarian times and beyond. And I've been out there visiting some of these areas, and it's really incredible. So I think once you know, you can't unknow. And then what happens is that kind of discovery piece leads you to finding out so much more, that what initially seemed impossible really is now possible. So you kind of dropped words like biohacking in there, and that that's a really, really important and interesting concept as well, because people interpret it in very different ways as well. And I love that you said, well, actually, some places this is just mainstream lifestyle for some people, yet in other places this becomes something that you're doing to hack your health. It's things like yoga, which originated way off in the East 4,000, 5,000 years ago, and suddenly we attach science to it. We bring it over into the West, and we call it hacking. And I love that. Yes, some of these practices are amazing. So let's get into talking a little bit about supplements as well, because I think sometimes the word supplement itself needs explaining as well. And of course, that's an area where you are now a forerunner and have expanded, initially based on what was missing for you, but really what's missing for a lot of people. So what's your interpretation of just the word supplement?
I think obviously what a supplement is doing is, let's say obviously your diet choices. I mean, most of the daily recommended vitamins and minerals you should be able to get from your diet, right? I think we can all agree that more or less you should be able to get quite a lot of the stuff from diet. It all changes. Everyone's got food intolerances, which we can get onto later, and there's DNA aspects to this as well, where some people don't absorb certain minerals. So you can get some of that from your diet. But for me, it's the supplements that we focus on are more like optimization supplements. So the ones that we are talking about is how do you optimize certain areas of your body, and which you can't get through diet alone. So you know through supplementation you can get much concentrated doses of a product wouldn't be able to get necessarily from your diet without maybe looking like a rhinoceros or an elephant. Gonna try and eat 20 kilos of greens every day or something. So I think it's just trying to add into what's missing, really, or topping up. And I don't think supplements are necessarily like we have a lot of supplements. I wouldn't say there's one supplement I take every day religiously. I would take supplements. They're to be taken and then not taken. I mean, I think you can mix and match. And some people think of them sometimes like, oh, it's some sort of medication, prescription medication I must take every day of my life forever. And I'm not so sure I agree with that. I think you do need to monitor your health and obviously do the tests, etc. But that's my interpretation of it. It's really, I think of my body as like a dashboard, and you're just trying to kind of get everything into the sweet spot, right? And if you're not getting enough vitamin D, or you've got some type of inability to a processed vitamin D, then maybe you need to take like a bigger dose than the next person. Like everyone, what people, one person, 1,000 international units might not be the same for the next person. So yeah.
So many people just walk around feeling tired. I mean, I heard this so much as a GP, endless consultations for, I'm tired all
Yeah.
the time. I just feel tired. I feel tired. And then you sort of accept it as the norm to feel tired, but it isn't, right? And it could be down to the fact that you just haven't got that little piece of the puzzle. The NAD
Yeah.
is what you
Yes.
need for this whole energy cycle to just start working.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
try it, test it, notice the difference for yourself, because this is a safe product. There's a few kind of contraindications to some things, so it's always important to have a chat, I think, to someone like me, to if you are worried. But I think for a lot of things, you've got to tune in to where you're at now, take something that you believe is going to be useful for you, and then tune back in to see what difference that makes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you just think about it logically, everyone would say, like, if you're treating everyone the same, then obviously every single body is different. Every response is going to be different, and you're going to have, I would say, suboptimal results, which is exactly, generally what we've experienced with hypertension, with a global control rate of 20%.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, amazing. I'd love to know what you do for your own self-care, for your own health, for your own optimization. What's a day in the life of Dr. J. Shah like?
Well, I try to stay active as much as I can, which that means, walking a lot, walking in the US. I think it's a little bit more difficult sometimes in most cities than perhaps the UK, but walking a lot. I exercise. I use a Peloton. That's my thing. So especially when it's cold and wintry outside, I can just be inside and exercising still. So I use that pretty routinely. And then I try to eat well and balanced and, in moderation. I don't follow any real fad diet or fad sort of, approach, although they're not necessarily all bad, but again, it's individualized for different people. Mm-hmm. And I think for me I have young kids and a family. So, we all kind of eat the same thing, but we try to just, cook healthy, cook fresh vegetables, fresh foods, very low in processed foods, and don't eat out very much. Generally, that's what I do. And then I track, I monitor, I try to optimize for myself. Yeah. And I think those are the main things. I think the other things that people probably don't think about for sort of happier and healthier lives are just social interactions, being plugged into a good community, having good friends, laughing a lot. I think those are so important, and most physicians don't talk about it. But I think as we get older, it's clearly becomes such an important part of our, mental health, which I think affects our physical health significantly.
For sure. And these are the very forgotten medicines, aren't they? Gratitude and kindness and connection and belonging. And there's lots more emerging data about the impact on longevity and health and physical and cognitive well-being as well. So equally important to look at as well. Do you track anything else? Do you collect any other data, or how do you use that for yourself?
So, I do. I track my weight. I think that's pretty helpful. And all of us can do that very routinely. So I think that's pretty easy to do. It's not exciting usually to track your weight unless you're having good success at weight loss. But I do track it because I think it's really important. Obesity and being overweight is a primary driver of so many things that it is, and it's something that's so easy to measure or monitor at home. So I do track that pretty routinely. But otherwise, I'm not, luckily, fingers crossed, so far, I'm, staying pretty well and healthy. Yeah. And I do routinely get sort of the traditional measurements taken, blood work once a year. And I do those things fairly routinely for cholesterol and some other markers that I look at. Yeah. And then I just turned 40, so I'm going to get a calcium score, if you know what that is. I think those are super powerful and very, very helpful and predictive for cardiovascular disease. Yeah. So I in my practice, that's always been something that I've recommended for anyone who's at least over the age of 40, who's really, wants to understand the overall cardiovascular risk.
Okay, well, now you've opened that up. You're going to have to explain to the listeners a little bit more about the calcium score and how you can access that.
Yeah, sure. So traditionally, when you start thinking about cardiovascular risk, it's exactly like we've been talking about. It's very population-based, age, gender, blood. Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have diabetes? Are you a smoker? Do you have a family history? And what is your cholesterol? And that's it. It goes into a database and it pulls from that database. Here, somebody like you with these numbers in this database, this is your general risk of a cardiovascular event in the next 10 years. So it's highly impersonal. It's just sort of database matching. But a calcium score is a very personalized test. And a calcium score is a low dose CT scan of your heart. So not much radiation. It's very minimal. And it's just looking for presence of calcium in the arteries of your heart. And calcium is a surrogate marker for plaque. So the more calcium you have, the more plaque you have in the arteries. And it has been shown many times now to be a very strong predictor of future cardiovascular events. So if you add this calcium score test to the traditional risk-based scoring, it becomes a much more powerful and personalized sort of risk assessment. And someone who might look great on paper, low cholesterol, not very old, doesn't have much comorbid conditions or diseases or other things, but has a high calcium score, has actually a significantly higher risk of future cardiovascular events, but they would not have known about that unless they did the calcium score. And it's a very widely available tool, and it's relatively inexpensive in the US. I don't know how much it costs in the UK, but in the US it costs $99. So most people, not all people, most people can afford that. And I'm sure in the UK, GPs or others can put in that order for a calcium score. And I think that's, for me, that's been it's a very powerful predictive tool.
Yeah. And that's great because it's all got sort of additive value, hasn't it, as well? And it's trackable. So these things are not just one-off things. You'd never just go and have a one-off kidney blood test, or you don't want to just have these things one-off. Once you kind of get into the rhythm of wanting to just get to know yourself, you want to be starting to monitor changes over time, because things do change over time, and sometimes you don't know until you start to measure as well, which is great. So no, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really useful from this kind of whole cardiovascular heart risk perspective, because heart disease still remains the biggest cause of morbidity and mortality, doesn't it, worldwide?
I hate getting old. That's my biggest fear of getting old. I just think, I've got to be more accepting of this, I suppose. But it's just, you can't. Look, none of us can defy age, but you can delay it. You can certainly delay it, and I think that's one of the things I've got. Look, the health side. The health is made up of three major ingredients. It's what we eat, it's our physical fitness, and how much we sleep. And I say I eat just so religiously, so diligently. People say, but you miss out on all the joys of life. Or people say everything in moderation. Yes, to a degree, but the trouble is everything in moderation. Once you have that cake, it's so easy to have another one and all the rest of it. So I just avoid it. I'm happy for it. I don't need it. But I've taken supplements from age 16 or so. Basically, the science, the apple we eat today has got 1/10 to 10%, 15% of the minerals it used to have 60 years ago because of over-industrialized agriculture. So, okay, do they work? I'll sort of take the insurance and put it in there. Just make the best out of it. The sleep's the one thing. So fitness and nutrition, great. The sleep one is the third one, the missing link. I think we have this machoism. It's tough to be do without sleep and all encouraged, but we're so out of sync with our even our time zones. We go to summer. Down here in June, it's light at 4 a.m. in the morning. 4 a.m. And I'm up because I get woken up with the light, and I'm out there thinking, what a waste of light. We could, if we're an hour forward and we enjoy the light in the evenings, we're so out of sync with nature, which again is what, funny enough, when I go on expeditions and I'm camping, I sleep the best I sleep at all, because you're away from, again, all the distractions. You've got the sounds of nature with you.
Yeah.
But that's the one challenge, and that goes along with social media and information overload, the brain sort of ticking away and all the rest of it. But we manage it a bit better these years.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting kind of light and your rhythms and your circadian biology. And I always say, if there's one thing that you do to help your sleep is to get out in that morning light, let the kind of light hit the back of your retina, because that gives you that reset, that whole connection between melatonin at night, which helps you fall asleep, and cortisol in the morning, which is your kind of stimulating, activating hormone. They've got a reciprocal arrangement, and you've got to use light in order to fuel that. So I always say, preparation for sleep, it doesn't start when you get into bed, it starts when you wake up. Because what you want is to sleep on a mattress that's made of natural materials, breathable materials that allow your body temperature to regulate, a mattress that supports you without molding to you, and a mattress that provides you comfort. And if you think about it, well, a third of your life is spent sleeping, or at least it should be, or approximately at that level. So by the time you're 75, you've had 25 years in bed. Now that is a lot of time. So you certainly need to make that the best bed that you can. Of course you do. So you want a mattress that you fall in love with. You're excited to greet it at the end of every day. It's one that supports you, comforts you, allows you to breathe without being a pain in the neck. Just what you'd expect from your ideal partner, of course, right? So there's a number of mattress manufacturers that do address what I've just talked about, being your ideal partner, your ideal mattress.
We highlighted, in the program, there were some weeks we did a whole sleep deprivation thing to show the effect on your response and how it slows you down. I mean, it's incredible. And the way when you're very tired, you have these micro sleeps, which could lead to an accident. We did all that, and we looked at how it stunts the growth of a child. And when you got a child who's 14, who for the past 4 years has been sleeping on a beanbag, that is horrendous. When you got a family of 4, they're sleeping on a mattress on the floor, head to toe. That is horrendous.
Absolutely, because the other thing is interesting that you talked about sort of what you discovered was the impact of this. I do a lot of work with using sleep data. So things like wearing this ring on my finger that you'll see that captures information about the quality of your sleep. And it'll be so interesting to see what that impact is depending on how you're sleeping, what surface you're sleeping on. Because you're right, the impact's going to be huge. When we talk about, you've already talked about stress and rest and the importance of focusing on that. So, wonderful. And that's a wrap. It's a wrap for 2024. Now, I've decided to take a short break from podcasting for 2024. I've now been podcasting for over 3 years with Health Hacktivators and the Lifestyle First podcast. I've learnt lots, I've shared lots, I've had so many fantastic questions and responses from you all, and I'm so touched and grateful for all of your support. Now, I may be back with more podcasting, so I will keep you updated. In the meantime, I encourage you to be an active participant in your own health journey. Be a health hacktivator and draw from the health hacking code, which means using data and devices to make health decisions. And give yourself some time and some space to keep health as your number one priority. Now, look, there may be times when your health may not feel like everything, but remember, without your health, everything is nothing. So if you haven't already, do head over to my website, dralkapatel.com. There you'll find resources and ways that we can stay connected so that I can continue to support you in your health optimization journey. On my site, you'll find my courses and my programs on how to become 10 years younger in 10 weeks, as well as my biohacking plans. So whether you want support with your gut health, your metabolic health, your heart health, or whether you want to reverse a diagnosis or minimize medication, or whether you want to achieve exceptional levels of health, I'm always available for a conversation. So please do get in touch. I wish you a wonderful Christmas full of festive fun, and I wish you, as always, a health activating day, week, month, year, and lifetime.